Hello and welcome to another crochet tutorial with Ask Miss Chris. I am your host Chris, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do the cross stitch. Now it is kind of hard to see in this swatch, but there are three different types of cross stitches that I have done. They vary in difficulty, not necessarily because the stitch is hard, it's just a little harder to manipulate your hook around to create the stitch. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you the first one, which is the easiest of the three cross stitch methods to do. Now what I have is just a bunch of double crochets. I did the cross stitch on this row, just varying kinds. And for this row I'm going to do the easiest, and so what you're going to do is you're going to yarn over, we're going to do a double crochet, but we're going to skip a stitch. And we're going to yarn over and draw through, yarn over, put through two loops on the hook, yarn over, and pull through two more. So you have this little hole. So what we're going to do is you're just going to yarn over and double crochet through the stitch that you missed. Now, what makes this the easiest is you're not pulling that first double crochet out. So it's a little more like a V. So let's do it again. We're going to yarn over. We're going to skip one stitch. Put one in here, and that next stitch, finish that double crochet, and now in the remaining hole we're going to yarn over and go through that stitch. Now look, we're going all the way through the back of the piece. We're basically yarning around that first one that we did, and finish the double crochet. And you see it's more V-shaped because you're not taking out that first stitch. So let's do it one more time. We're going to yarn over, we're going to skip one stitch and do the double crochet in the next stitch. Okay? And now we're going to do the second part of the cross by just doing a double crochet into the stitch that we skipped. I'm just going to put our hook all the way through, yarn over, and pull through, and finish that double crochet. This one is more flat than the other two, so you're going to find that I think for me this is the one that I most commonly use just because it's flat, it's not a raised stitch. So I'm going to put a couple double crochets in. I'm going to show you the next one. Now this one is the middle, I would say middle difficulty, and again it's not the difficulty of the stitch, it's just manipulating your hook into the piece. So they start out exactly the same. You skip a stitch and put a double crochet into the next stitch. So I've done that. That's how the first one started. And now we're going to crochet into the back. I know it seems like this is the middle difficulty. So what you do is you yarn over, you go behind that first stitch that you did, go into the stitches you normally would, yarn over, pull through, and then you finish your double crochet as normal. Now I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but this stitch is definitely raised as you've done this crisscross. Okay, let's do that one more time. You yarn over, I'm going to skip one stitch and put a double crochet into the next stitch. Then we're going to finish that double crochet just as we did the other. Now you're going to yarn over, you're going to go behind the first stitch like that, and then go into the stitch that you skipped that way. Whoop! And let go of the yarn. Now what this does is it moves that other stitch out of the way, and it is not involved in the second stitch at all. It does create more of an X, but again, like I said, it's more raised. Let's do it one more time. We're going to yarn over. We're skipping one stitch and double crocheting into the next stitch. We're going to finish that double crochet as normal. And now we're going to yarn over. We're going to go behind the stitch we just did, see that? And up and around into the stitch that we skipped. It seems a little complicated, but it's not that bad. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish off this row and move up to the next row. I think I'm going to go ahead and just double crochet around the next row. So I'm just going to go up and double crochet, and then when I come back I'll have a nice fresh row to do some cross stitches. So I went ahead and double crocheted across, so I'm ready to start another row. Now I just wanted you to see the difference. It's easier to see once you have a few together. This is that first method where we just incorporated our first stitch, we just stitched our second one around it, and here is where they stand up. Now on this next method you're going to see there's going to be the stand up, but it's going to be going the opposite way. Now these cross stitches actually are a base start to cabling with crochet, but you can see if you continued up around how it would make a little bit more of a cable, which I will be putting some cabling videos with crochet up shortly. So, alright, so now for this last method, on the second method that we did, we went back and around and came through the stitch that way. Now we're going to be going through the front, but we got to pull it out and then do the stitch in front of the first stitch that we create. So this one again, the first stitch is the same, skip a stitch, go to the next one, yarn over and pull through, and finish that double crochet as you normally would. Now this is where it's a little harder to manipulate your hook and you have to pay attention to your yarn. I hope it translates well on camera. So we're going to yarn over. Now I'm going to go through the front of the stitch like I normally would, but now I'm going to catch the stitch and pull it forward so my hook pops up and around this other stitch that I did. And I'm going to pull through there, and now I'm going to finish my double crochet as normal. I know that one's a little harder. I prefer, if I'm just doing a regular crochet right now, double crochet. I prefer not to use this one because it does pull at the material a little more, but it is a method and it's a version, and I thought, you know, rather show it to you than pretend it doesn't exist. Let's do it one more time. We're going to yarn over, we're skipping one stitch and doing our double crochet as normal. And now we're going to yarn over first, and I usually trap it with my thumb. I'm going to poke my hook through, and I'm going to grab those two loops and drag them back through the front, kind of twisting my material. And now I'm going to yarn over and pull through the stitch, and then I'm going to finish my double crochet as normal. And that completes the other cross stitch. It's a little more difficult because of sending your yarn. Here, we'll do it without. What I did is I poked it through and then I pull the top of it and move my hook around the stitch. So let's pretend my thumb is the stitch. It's just kind of blocking the way. We go through the material, grab those loops and pull it in front of the stitch. I personally, as I said, I prefer these first two methods, which is incorporates the front, but it incorporates the stitch, and then the back cross stitch where it just pulls it behind. So with that said, that is my tutorial on the cross stitch. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any comments or suggestions, again, leave them down below and I will be happy to hear from you. So everybody.